All right, we're going to be careful with this, but the IS is sending a horror threat to launch a T attack on New York City in just days. Now, of course, we've talked about events like this for a very long time and the potential for them and the theories surrounding events like this. As far as the events that are being threatened, they are large sporting events and, of course, major important events in the United States. So this is something that if it happens, it is coming home. Now, we've actually been covering a lot of weird stories around the world, including even China saying that they're essentially pumping up their protection against these same kinds of groups. And it's kind of crazy because we didn't see almost anything about these groups until just recently. In fact, even this group that they are talking about has now added a K to their name, and now supposedly we get the same fear and everything from it, but it is a completely different group, or at least that's what I take it as. As far as this goes, they have a very specific place that they are threatening. So if you want to see that, stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to talk about some of the current events that are going on right now and in the last 24 hours. Specifically, I'm sure most of you want to get right into this one. So there is, of course, a promotional poster for the future events here, and we're going to show you that. It's pretty creepy if you really think about it. But before we go over that, let's bring my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So this is talking about June 9th. So this is just in a few days. This is one of the posters that was put out. It says, "You wait for the matches, and we wait for you." Of course, in the picture, which is done by probably one of the worst graphic artists of time, it shows what looks like drones. It shows the lights of the stadium. It shows a lone gentleman with, of course, it looks like a snipe on his back. And I can't make up the little part here, but essentially they are saying that this is this group's kind of threat, and they specifically list Nassau Stadium. Now, Dex, we ended up looking up what the events are around this, and it would be a lot of people would be at this event.
Yeah, that's correct. There is on that date, there is in this particular stadium is a specific stadium built. It's the Nassau Stadium. It was built in New York, and it's going to be hosting the T20 World Cup games between there and the Caribbean. And it's in June. And of course, the June 9th is the date that they've put in this poster, but there's a lot of other quotes in here about what they've actually said too, because it's not just a poster, it's a lot of chatter that's going on with this too. Stadium holds 34,000 people, and that first game is India versus Pakistan.
Now, why this one? And the first thing I thought of is there's bigger stadiums, there's bigger events too. I mean, some of these events, Dex, I mean, isn't there some of these events that have 80,000? I know our stadium here in Washington can hold like 50,000. Some of the big football stadiums can hold, 100,000 people. I guess why did they pick this one? Is it specifically because of who is playing, right? And who were the two teams again? What does it say there?
It's in India and Pakistan, and it's World Cup soccer, so a sporting event that is, much more popular outside of the States, especially in countries throughout the Middle East and others.
Okay, and just so you know, like every time I list, China and Taiwan, China and the Philippines, Iran and Israel, you've got South Korea and North Korea, you have Venezuela and Guyana, you have Russia and Ukraine. The one thing that always comes to my brain is India and Pakistan, right? But they are not, they've always been kind of having their own ordeal, but they choose a game like this. Does this have anything to do with it? Is this going to get people fired up in both of those countries as well if something like this happened? Now, when you have forewarning of something like this, when it's put out so publicly, from their point of view, from these evil people's point of view, whoever it really is, why would they put it out in advance like this? And then when we get there, is anything going to happen? Now, I saw a couple people say that it's September 6th. This is international dates, so it is reversed. So it's day, month, and then year. So that's the 9/06/2024. So that's actually June 9th, 2024. Now, just say hypothetically they were doing it flip-flopped and it was September 6th, 2024, then we would still be mere months away from all of this. Now, it's obviously at a heightened time of tensions around the world. There are protests in all of the countries that are not at war about the war and about the future, the futures of all of their countries. Like Europe is just crazy right now as far as all the protests against all of the different events that are going on all over the place, from regional events or changes in their governments, changes in their constitution, changes in how their day of daily life is changing right now. From Australia, adding in digital ID, to France changing the retirement age. Like all of these crazy things are just like all, bringing this to a huge powder keg. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, I misspoke. I said soccer, or football as they call it over there. It's cricket, and that's probably why it's a smaller stadium, 34,000. So I had that wrong. But yes, it still is. Everything else we said is correct, but it's a cricket. The beginning of the World Cup for cricket.
Yeah, and
that date is the date that Pakistan plays India. And I don't know if that's the beginning or if that's in the middle of the tournament, but the tournament's going back and forth between a couple of locations, New York and the Caribbean.
And they have this guy with the snipe on his back, but then they also have these drones. And I think the bad graphic designer almost looks like UFOs. So I wonder if there's going to be any comments about a fake invasion or something, right? Maybe this guy's maybe he's the secret hero and he's going to take down the big bad UFOs. Who knows? Either way, what do we expect of this? We don't know what to expect. Preppers just look at the possibility. Very well we could have nothing happen on this day. The game could go without flaw, but is that because they've got all of this warning? What kind of security will they have there? Will they cancel this event? Will something happen that same day somewhere else? Are they saying, hey, look at this hand, meanwhile this hand does something somewhere else? If they put all of their resources in this part of town, something could happen on the other side of town, right? Again, this is the kind of stuff that we're looking at again. If you remember, 10 years ago, this was almost daily. We were having people firing snipes out of trucks. We were having people driving over the sidewalk. We were having people walk into stores. We were having trains go boom. We had all sorts of events back then after 2001, and it felt like it was straight 10 years of just one thing after another. And we kind of had this kind of, almost a break of the big ones. And it was more of these lone wolf type of operations. But they are saying that they are planning something massive. And by they, I mean the U.S. government, the UK government, the French government. You of course, have the Australian government has made comments about this. And even the Chinese now are essentially beefing up their security against this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you never really hear much about stuff going down over there as far as, what comes through the filter and what they actually cover. But is this going to become a thing again? Now, many people in our community are talking about how they believe that the full-on, a straight-up war will kick off before we actually get into next year. And the reason why is that they believe that this is the next thing. This is the next thing to get the world basically wrapped up into some big event. And the people in power will stay in power and even gain more power. One thing to remember is during wartime, there are laws and things that can go in that you could never, ever, in your right mind, no one would ever pass, that they could never publicly pass, that literally would never get passed. In any country, no matter how lax the government or how lax their system is, there are things that you can do during wartime that you would never do in any other time. They can pass whatever they want during wartime. Heck, they can say, hey, you at the stoplight, that's your car? Oh, no, that's our car now. We're taking that car. In fact, we want you to drive us to your house because that is now our house. And that is our land. And in fact, we're going to need you. And actually, we need you to go over there and sit on the front line until you perish. That is possible during a war. And that's the kind of thing that we are hoping does not happen. But it definitely looks like it is heading that direction. As far as the events and how this is all surrounding other events that are going on, everything is tied in together. Do you guys think so as well? Do you think that everything is kind of somehow there's a string tying from this one to that one to this one to that one? That's my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, thank you and welcome to everybody that just made it to the show. Sully's World, Baron Saturday, Randy Man, Imminent Domain. Yep. And as far as, is imminent domain or eminent? I always get that. I always screw that up too. Is it eminent, Dex, or is it imminent?
It's with an I.
It is an imminent. I always say eminent. I always screw that up. I know I do. Shorty, we got Space Monkey. U.S. Mar, indeed. D. Lynn, thank you for being here. Don Jarhead. By the way, if you are new here and you are ex-military or retired or active, you have a really great big family here as well. So again, there's lots of great retired veterans here, and thank you guys for your service. What do you think about it as veterans? What do you think about everything that's going on right now, knowing that this next generation is most likely going to be serving or has a really good chance of it? If you look at Europe, they're actually talking almost across Europe of a mandatory conscription coming back. All of these things we've been talking about for the last couple of months. Everything now is going into super speed. Eminent. I messed up. Randy, man, I don't think you did. I think
it's E. It's E. I was wrong. I was thinking of imminent as in what we've used in a show earlier. But that's with an I.
All right.
Immediately or soon is imminent.
All
eminent
right.
with an E is what goes with eminent domain.
Okay, so I was right, but that's why I always screw it up, because I think it's like, by the way, I just saw the word irregardless. There's a comedy special called Irregardless, and it's I forget who it is. It's a big stand-up comedian, but they actually ripped it off of somebody else. There's 3 comedians that have done irregardless as their special. It's because it's a common word that everybody uses that technically is a little bit off. There's other words too. There was a whole list of words that people use that technically it's just kind of because it's words that everybody uses that people usually get off by a letter or two. The English language is probably, they say it's the most complicated language. It's crazy growing up speaking English to think that, because when I look at something like Chinese or any other language, really, Russian especially, I'm like, how the heck do people learn this? Let's see here. Mr. Hubo Diggs. We've got WK, Mark. What is happening? We have Joshua Matthew. Let's see here. Randy Man. Open-minded me. Rebel Snarful. Kim Canadian. Specific Pacific. I hear all the time. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's get into some stuff. A couple of the stories tonight are going to be kind of stress-inducing. I try to warn you before that. If you don't like scary movies, don't watch scary movies. If you're the kind of person that doesn't like jump scares, you probably don't watch jump scare movies. You can pretty much see in the title and in the movie, if it shows some creepy clown face and you don't like scary movies, then you probably don't watch it. So if you're here beyond this warning, then you're doing it by choice, and you have no grounds to really complain because you know what you're getting into. We talk about world events and, of course, all of the things going south, and that is because we would like to be prepared for it and not be slapped in the side of the face with it. Auroras could paint Earth's sky again in early June, and here are the key nights to watch for. By the way, a huge storm just happened. I just talked to Wages World last night, and he was telling me how just yesterday we had another big, blast off of the sun. This one, he didn't know at that time if it was actually this one was going to hit us, but it was a massive, massive blast that came off of the sun. We are in solar cycle 25. If you're new to all of this and you do not follow solar weather, when the sun does these huge blasts off the sun, it can cause serious damage here on Earth if it's pointed towards us. In solar cycle 25, it is actually a cycle inside of a cycle, and they say it is possibly one of the most unpredictable cycles we've lived in. And we are seeing one event after another. Dex, do you want to go over how auroras could actually paint our skies all throughout this next month?
So the cause of the last one that happened between May 10th and May 12th was a particular sunspot known as AR 3664 and AR 13664. These a dark patch and a massive sunspot active region. Well, what is happening is that has now made its full rotation and it's almost back. It should be coming, I believe it says it's going to rotate around and it will be Earth facing during the new moon on June 6th. So June 6th is the date. At least that's when we would start to potentially have that opportunity to have those massive flares again, because they all came out of that area. And we know that wherever there is sunspots and dark spots, that's where a lot of activity happens. That's what happened to us, last month or the earlier in this month. And that same spot's coming back around again. So as it comes back around, if it happens to be just as active or even more active, and that's headed directly for us, that's in this case, we're getting a prediction of time and when something could happen, not necessarily it has happened and we're waiting for it to get here. That's what typically goes on is they'll get a flare, which the X-ray hits immediately, but then the CME comes a couple days to 3 days later, depending on speed and how long it takes to get here. So you get that little bit of a notice. You can say, hey, we're going to get a lot of activity. But in this case, they're just telling us, hey, that big spot that caused everything is about to be pointed right at us again. And we've got, about a little over a week before that starts up again.
Now, another thing we talked about last night is how the event that we just had that had northern lights down to the equator, or he said I'm not an expert on this, but he said down to a certain equatorial line, that it's never happened before, that this has never happened in our lifetimes and nor during recorded times, that the actual event hit down so low it broke records. As far as that storm, it was an X and a class 3 or an X2 class 3, I think. And I'm probably saying that wrong, but it was a 3, right, on this scale. And they were talking about how the one in 2012, if you remember, everybody thought it was the end of the world. The Mayan calendar supposedly ended in 2012, and people were expecting some crazy stuff. Well, in 2012, we actually got extremely lucky. There was an event very similar to the Carrington event that blasted off of the sun, and it missed us. They did record it, and basically they said if it would have hit Earth, it could have knocked out our entire grid. Our entire planet could have just went lights out. But we luckily missed it. Was that an accident? Were the Mayans just off a little bit? Like, were they actually predicting that? And they were just the tiniest bit off? Or was it just a coincidence? Whatever it may be. Well, that was on a more of a closer level to a Carrington level event. The Carrington level event in itself was way, way, way bigger. I mean, we're talking on a scale from what he said, I think it's double digits past where this last one was that caused northern lights all over the planet. So if you could think about that, this was like a 3, and you're talking about, a 10, a 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, 80. It's like those kind of events are really insane to think about happening during modern civilization, where everything that we are connected to is 10 times more sensitive than the telegraph wires that lit fire back when the Carrington level event hit, before electricity was widespread and before all of this stuff was in play. I mean, to set headsets and telegraph headsets on fire, that's pretty insane. Think about that happening during modern day life, and then everything that is connected to all of this. I can't believe that we didn't keep a hard line for critical infrastructure for everything. They should have a backup for everything, but they don't. And that's something that they're covering now, is that the fact that we have gone digital on a lot of fronts as far as critical infrastructure that has completely gone into this whole digital system where everything is remote controlled, everything is Wi-Fi, everything is hooked up through a very vulnerable system. It's insane. Awakened Believer says, it's been a while since I've been able to catch a live show. Thanks for keeping us updated with the real news. Well, thank you, Awakened Believer, and thank you for the super. I appreciate that. Lord McCormick says, cards on the table 1 through 10. It's World War III in weeks. GB family. Lord McCormick, I don't know if you're asking me on a 1 to 10 scale. I don't think it's going to happen in weeks. I think we're going to see major signs, if not the start of a hot war, by October or November. I think that's like on the long end. But if we don't, go ahead and quote me in October and November. If there is no World War III happening, I will be very blessed, and I'm sure many of you will feel the same. But that's how I feel. I think that we're going to see signs of it over the next few months, and it's going to pick up until there is some sort of event. It would first kick off with NATO against Russia, which it looks like they're on every level setting up for that. And then it would be how to get the U.S. into the war, how to get us directly involved and have troops sent over. I think we would need a Pearl Harbor type event for that to happen. And that's the event that really freaks me out, is a Harbor 2.0 type of event. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And make sure to go check out all of your wonderful Marfoogle mods over at their channels. You can actually subscribe to all of them right here. In fact, marfooglenews.com/friends has all of them there, on top of a great list of creators that we worked with, and of course think that are great on and off camera. So go check them out. Lots of great people over there, like Jacob and Jeff and Justin True and Alaska Prepper, all day, every day preparedness. He's growing. He's not growing as fast as he should be. Great channel. And of course, lots more. So go check them out over at marfooglenews.com/friends. And then Israeli tanks seen advancing further into despite international calls to halt offensive. So this has been just like a super insane subject for the last 2 months. All of you are watching the news about all of the protests and all of the colleges and the camps here in Washington. There is still these camps that are set up at UW, and people are basically living in tents on campus. It's actually pretty gross from the videos I've seen. People are leaving trash and like pee buckets outside their tents. And this is on a major, normally a really nice campus, but people are setting up this like tent city there. I don't know if it's still up, but as of a couple days ago, it was. And it's like, what does that have to? How does that help? Like, are they actually writing letters to Congress? Are they doing the activities that actually help? Because nobody's even covering the UW, or the few stories have, but has that actually made a dent on their cause? It makes me wonder. But as far as the tanks rolling in, if you were looking at this purely not taking a single side, if you don't know anything, say you just arrived here on Earth, you don't know what side to support, anybody would be able to see that if there are countries that are saying, if you do this, this will cross our red line, and then this country goes, okay, well, we're going to do it, and we've done it, and we're doing it, then obviously somebody from, planet Mars is going to go, it looks like somebody just crossed a red line, and all of these people are saying that they're going to do something about it. So that's why I pay attention to it. Israeli military tanks were seen into central Rafah on Tuesday for the first time since IDF entered the Strip southernmost city earlier this month. The move comes 2 days after the strike on a camp in the Strip's southernmost city and took the lives of dozens of displaced people on Sunday, and amid a push to the international community to stop its assault on the city. Now, Israel's point is that, yes, they did take out... what is it called? Dex, the word for taking out losses along with the good. It's right at the tip of my tongue. Collateral damage. That's the word I was looking for. They say, oh, well, we took out these people, but it was collateral damage because we took out these two leaders. Well, now they're going a step further, and they are bringing in some of the huge tanks, and they're bringing in an entire group or a party of them. These vehicles advanced in the middle of the night, they told CNN, which, of course, CNN gets all of the exclusives on this subject. Asked about reports of tanks advancing in the city, IDF spokesman Admiral Daniel Haguri said at the meeting, said that the military is operating in Rafah in targeted and in a precise way. There are still battalions in Rafah. A couple of days ago, launchers from Rafah fired rockets to Tel Aviv. Millions of people went into bomb shelters, he said. And then, of course, IS began a limited ground operation in Rafah on May 7th, crossing the Philadelphia corridor, about a 14-kilometer 9-mile-long buffer zone on the Egypt Strip border, and seizing the Palestinian side of the border with Egypt. Today and the day before, we've been detected tunnels along the Philadelphia, and am I saying that right? Philadelphia corridor, these tunnels going into Sinai, Haguri said, adding that the IDF is demolishing the tunnels into Sinai and communicating with the Egyptian government about it. Egypt has strongly opposed the operation at its border. On Monday, the Egyptian security personnel was perished on the border with the Strip in a shooting that involved Egyptian and Israeli soldiers. Egypt's state affiliate Al Kahara News said that Palestinian resistance fighters were also involved. So if it is that close and it's right on that border, how could that possibly bring in escalation? Well, the wrong person gets hit, the wrong civilian gets hit, it could bring a whole other kind of level to it. So we'll be following it and we'll be watching it as it moves along. Dex, as far as the Israeli tanks, I mean, they're doing what they said about 3 days ago they were going to do. But at this point,
they're not winning the hearts and minds of anybody except for their own country and those that support them finishing this job. So as far as the rest of the world, every one of these actions they take, which is what they said they were going to do, is just going to continue to apply pressure and continue to build up this potential clash that's going to come from their actions. And I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that's the fact. I mean, this is a very tenuous issue, and everyone is quick to put a microscope on every little detail here, whether it's correct or not. They're doing it, and they're going to call it out if it's the opposite side, and it's going to be used as fuel for the fodder and the fire. And Adam, real quick, when you get a chance, reload Earth.
All right, I'm doing it right now. All right, so you would think, I don't know how big the area is now that they have them down in, because they say they've pushed everybody down to a certain portion of this, and they could have tunnels that go all the way back to the middle. We don't really know. But I just wonder, with all of the crazy tech that these governments have, how, I know that everybody is wearing the same clothes. It's another hard part about it is any civilian could be one of the bad guys, But it's like you would think that they would have some sort of tech by now, that they'd be flying over, recording drones 24/7 and trying to find out and record, get who the bad guys are versus the good guys or something. You think they would be experimenting with some of the crazy new tech that they've been showing, because there's new tech that we've actually been covering that's had all sorts of crazy stuff that's going to be applied to law enforcement and to spying and all of this. Like the drone space that's being cleared out, not only is that for deliveries, but it's also for law enforcement. Law enforcement's going to have drones going over like straight out of the video game Watch Dogs. It's crazy. It will look like London does in the game Watch Dogs in 2030 or whatever that game is set in. Let's see here. So let me pop this open. And let's see. All right.
What I had asked you to do was coming up later. I just want to make sure you had it. Some stuff from the Fugel fam.
Oh, okay, perfect. I think I see it. Okay, I got it. Thank you. All right. And before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you haven't already. Of course, this is a device that can actually protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, and boats against not only an EMP strike, but a Carrington-level event from the sun. If one of these events happens, whether it be from an adversary or whether it be from our own sun, your car will still drive after multiple EMP strikes or after a Carrington-level event from the sun. If you have this wired in, it's very easy. Red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground or a part of your chassis. And again, it's a very easy thing to do. You don't have to be a mechanic. They also make machines, of course, for your ham radios, your mobile homes, your RVs, your regular home. You can actually wire it in, and it will protect everything within 250 linear feet from where it is wired in. So every device that is plugged in, including appliances, will be protected. So make sure to go check it out, marfugelnews.com/EMP. It's an item that you won't need until you do need it, and you will be absolutely thankful that you did so, especially if you have generators and backup generators. So say if you have one in your home, that means that all of your devices, all of your appliances will be okay. Even if the power line doesn't come back on, power doesn't come on for 2 years, you will have those devices. They're not permanently fried, which is what one of these events would do. There's no fixing a fried device when it's hit by EMP or CME. But what it will do is it will allow you to then plug it into your generator. Now, if the power comes back on in a week, especially if the whole country gets hit or something like that, good luck trying to just go out and buy another refrigerator or buy another washing machine or buy any of your devices, including all of your electronics. So again, marfugelnews.com/EMP. It not only gives you $50 off, but it helps our independent channel at the same time. We are completely on our own, and we've been headed up a giant hill up against behemoths that essentially get the top of every search. So thank you guys for sharing us out. You are as much part of this as anybody else. You guys actually, going out to your friends and saying, you got to watch this show. You guys are a huge part of why we still grow. So thank you so much. And we can't say thank you enough. Since I've been doing these videos out of my car, I cannot say thank you enough for all of you that share my show out. And I really, really, really appreciate you guys. We would be nothing without you. So thank you. All right. And then IDF remote-controlled M113 Zelda. Dex, what the heck is this thing?
So this is an unmanned vehicle. So they've seen these in a couple locations. I think the pictures maybe in Rafah, but I think they've also had them in Jabalia earlier in the year. But this is like a remote controlled tank type device. So I guess in this area it can also probably carry people. Maybe it's a personnel carrier as well, although I don't know. But it looks more like it's set up to do something else, whether it's to do anti tank weapons or to scout out things. But this is a very large ground-based drone, right, of some sort. It's a remote controlled device, and it hasn't been seen very often, and somebody captured these pictures and are showing where it's being used at. So, as we think about conflict, we started seeing all the new stuff in UKR over the last 2 years, whether it be these small, lightweight, cheap, reusable drones, to now more autonomous vehicles, and then the possibility of using AI. And then, even speaking specifically about AI, we heard that even Israel had started leveraging AI to tell them where to target based off of information it was analyzing. So all of these new advancements in conflict that are getting presented to us, or at least we're starting to see, anytime we have a hot conflict around the world, we'll start to see the new technology emerge and arise. And this is it. I mean, you could rewind back into past conflicts, and there was lots of new things we saw then. So this is one of them. I think we've talked about the robot dogs that have weapons on them. I imagine we'll probably start to see those at one point start showing up in these future conflicts as they continue to expand.
So I've talked to military that served as late as last year, and they said that the robot dogs are being used. They're just not getting too much coverage. They're using them in experimental and smaller instances. So if, say it's a war scenario, how it was said is that they would use it when they're helping out the locals with like a domestic disturbance. They would send the dog in. It would open the door, go in there with cameras and stuff. They're using it more of like send them in first before a human being goes in a dangerous situation. But they're not so much using it like us versus them in a proxy conflict type of thing, at least not yet. This thing's crazy. I don't think it would be. They probably have different sizes, but from looking at the pictures, it looks like it's probably 4 or 5 feet tall. So I think it's a little bit smaller, because the size of the weapons there, and when you see it next to a doorway, I think this is big, but it's small at the same time. Like it's the size of a small, like what do you call them? Those the little tiny a Mini Cooper or something. So that's kind of freaky, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Technology like this is going to be used a lot more. Imagine this driving through the United States. You're surprised you didn't see this back in the 80s and 90s, and I'm sure they had versions of this and experiments with DARPA and things like that back long time ago. They probably had them since the 50s. But the ability to have these long range through satellites and to have AI and autonomous and to have them drive themselves, that is something that you're going to see very soon. Imagine unleashing this on an enemy area and then having it be able to defend itself, spot people's faces, have a profile for those people's faces. This is a scary thing for us here in the U.S. Imagine this is driving on U.S. streets. They have a profile of each one of us from whatever year, if we were on social media, or they have our information, they have it stored and filed, that say if there's anybody it does not recognize, you're not a citizen, all of a sudden, pop, 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 pop. Or who knows, it might be reverse in today's world. Oh, you are a citizen, pop, 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 pop. You never know. But again, very, very crazy if you think about the possible future we could have in a dystopian world with these things driving down Main Street. Dex, go ahead.
And yeah, I was just looking up. This is based off of, I thought it was a personnel carrier. So the M113 is traditionally, the variants of it are traditionally armored personnel carriers, hence the boxy shape and the big flap doors, to get people in and out of it. Why it's or how it's being used in a remote controlled fashion is also interesting. I mean, could you send it in to get people out? Could you send it in just full of equipment and remotely drive it where you need it to, so that maybe there's a bunch of munitions and things in there for a team that may need it, or what's happening? Because you think if there's personnel in there, you could have a driver. You don't really need a remote driver, but maybe if you're trying to get people out and you need to send it in and you want to send it in empty, you could. But this one has the radio equipment on top, and is configured, as they're saying, as the remote controlled version. It's a new variant called the Zelda, the M113.
So I don't know how many people you could actually fit into this, and this isn't like standing room. This would be like you would have to lay down. I'm pretty sure this is like maybe 6 feet tall or something. I would have to see other pictures of it, because the pictures they have, it's really hard to judge. And it looks like it even has a snorkel. Is that a snorkel on it? I wonder if this is gas powered or if this is. Yeah, of course it's gas powered. It's probably diesel or something. But yeah, by the size of some of these things, I don't know. When you see it, it doesn't look big enough to seat people. But then this one's deceptive because this is a far off, long range lens, something like a 300 millimeter camera, and then that's off in the distance. But if you look at the doorway right there, it looks taller than that, but that is off in the distance. So I don't know. These pictures suck for gaining what size this thing is. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, the original M113, or the what this is based off of, was 11 to 15 passengers with a crew of 2. So they're probably all sitting in there along a bench, front to back, on each side. They're probably not standing up in a bus partying, But yeah, it says 11 to 15 with a crew of 2.
So this is... Okay, I guess I can see that. Yeah, look at that. This is the original. So, but I still don't see how that could be 11 to 15. Maybe if you in the audience know. So this looks exactly like it, even down to the weapon. But it looks like maybe it can do 8 guys maybe. So it's definitely deceptive as far as the pictures go. But yeah.
My guess is they're hauling cargo in, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense to have people in there and somebody else remote driving it.
Yeah, look at this. Dex, are you looking at the screen? So this looks exactly the same, even this front weird door. So this is it. It definitely is big enough for people. But do they have benches inside there? And old tanks too were like that, where they were really cramped. If you see, have you ever been in a tank at a museum, Dex? It's super cramped. I would hate. It's cramped. I would absolutely hate being in a tank. I got in this one tank and they said it had a 6-man crew. It was like a French tank or whatever. And I'm like, a 6-man crew? It felt claustrophobic for me by myself. And then one of my friends got in, and it was like we had to coordinate just to get out. It was insane. I cannot believe that they piled 6 guys in this tank. But I guess you got to leave room for the huge, whatever, 4-inch steel or whatever is protecting this thing. Very, very cool, though. I'm sure the other guys probably don't have that yet. And then U.S.-built pier will be removed from the Strip coast and repaired after damage from rough seas. So... Wait, did China build this or did we build it? Oh, yeah, we built it. It already fell apart. that has been taking humanitarian aid for starving Strip residents for less than 2 weeks, and it will be removed from the coast of the Strip to be repaired after getting damaged in rough seas and weather. They do have some pretty crazy waves and storms over there. Over the next 2 days, the pier will be pulled from the beach and sent to the southern Israeli city of Ashdod, where the U.S. Central Command will repair it. It says she said the fixes will take at least over a week, and then the pier will need to be anchored back into the beach, into the Strip. And this thing is still not on this is like however many feet out, right? And they have boats that go from this pier. They unload it onto the pier, and then smaller boats take it in. That is how it works, right? We covered this a while back.
Well, yeah, actually, maybe they use smaller boats to the pier from the bigger boats. I'm not sure, but the pier's anchored. It was anchored to the beach, and they were trucking in on and off that pier, is what I understood. Or at least from the pictures they were showing.
Yeah, but don't the bigger boats have to go up to the pier, so it has to be far enough out in the water that they can so it's not shallow enough, so they go up there, and then that's what I said, right? You're saying the same thing, I think. And then small boats go from the pier to the beach?
No, the pier's on the beach.
Huh.
The pier is connected to the beach. Trucks can drive out onto the pier. I thought the small boats are going from the big ship. At least the pictures they were showing in the articles all show it attached to the beach.
Oh, I thought there was a different plan. I thought it was like a floating pier out in the water, and then big, huge boats would come up to it, and then small boats would bring smaller loads in. Anyways, either way, it's getting fixed, and I'm sure over the next week, everybody's going to be up in arms about what happens for the next week for the humanitarian aid. I guess they'll go back to another system, or maybe they brought a bunch of stuff so they could do this week. I don't know. Was this expected? Are they going to airdrop stuff on the beach again as a temporary thing, or do they just not get food for a week or humanitarian aid? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, some new names here. Thank you guys. Leslie Lindsay, nice to see you. Rebecca Rose, nice to see you. Mark, Spectre. No, who's on second? What's on first? Anyways, what the F are those two talking about? I don't know. Have no idea. Joshua Matthew, if you see it, warn the blood is on your hand. Huh. I don't know what that's talking about. Marf, it's going down. Third base. See here, think. Just Julie, what is happening? Thanks, Angie K. We have DY Do-It-Yourself Adventures. Is that what it is? Thank you. And whoever gifted out badges, I'm wondering, is it Genius by Birth that did that? Thank you.
Just Julie.
Just Julie. Thank you so much. Rochelle Cooley, Chewy Weather. We've got, of course, from Hillsboro, Oregon. Hillsboro, Oregon. Is that how you say it? Joshua Matthew, nice to see you. Jammer 1, thank you for modding. And, of course, Ilea, if you're here. Kent Reader. Hi, Marf. What's happening? Hey, little Jedi. Nice to see you. Aloha Snack Bar. We've got Amy King. Shout out to Marfoogle Brew and Brewing. I cannot believe it took me months, and I finally, you know who sent me the video of you in your bar? Is my sister. My sister sent me the video you did of your bar saying, hi, Marfoogle. So I thought that was really cool, and I commented on it. If you're here tonight, hopefully you are. And then Topher's United, what is happening? Just received a badge or a membership from Just Julie, Redonk, and Team Alaska. So thank you guys. All right.
That last one was Genius by Birth that just came through.
Oh, thank you,
So we did
Genius.
both back to back.
Well, Genius, it's really cool. By the way, Genius, I've missed it a couple times where you do it because it doesn't show up as a normal thing. But that's really cool. It's a gift straight from you to another Foogle fan member. Like that's, I think, and I told you guys before YouTube brought that over, that was one thing that DLive absolutely had down. I don't know if Twitch did that first or who did that first, but that was a really smart thing. That is something so very cool for a community to be able to, if you couldn't afford a membership, for somebody else to be able to gift it to you. I think it was a beautiful idea, and DLive had it a long time. So DLive actually had a lot of really cool stuff over there, or still does, but before everybody else. And then Image shows a 7-layer defensive line planned for the border between NATO and Russia. Dex, do you want to go over this?
So check out this diagram. It's pretty amazing. So they've got, the anti-tank. I can't remember what we call those,
teeth.
Adam. Yeah, the dragon's teeth. They got the dragon's teeth. Before that, they've got a barrier. They've got the barbed wire. They've got trenches dug, and they've got the different. And of course, you can't read necessarily in the diagram. It's all in probably Polish, but anyway, a NATO country has unveiled a new plan for its border intended to defend against attacks coming from Russia. So Poland's defense ministry on Monday touted its East Shield, an operation to strengthen its border with Russia and Belarus. It said the effort will be the largest defensive effort on NATO's eastern flank since World War II ended. So we have seen them start to roll some of this out. This isn't new. With those dragon's teeth, we've showed pictures of those about a year or two ago. But it features a permanent fence, barbed wire, anti-tank ditch, a field of anti-tank obstacles, also known as hedgehogs. So we were calling them dragon's teeth, but they're also called hedgehogs. Mines, another ditch, and then a layer of vegetation. So that is their defensive line, and they're investing heavily now. Why are they investing heavily now? Because they expect something to happen. It's not just because of let's fear it out. They are preparing. They're doing what they, as part of either the plan, or they're doing what they know is coming as part of this conflict is, going to potentially organically evolve out of UKR and into the rest of Europe. That's what they keep saying on both sides now at this point, that it's just going to keep ramping up. So yet again, more evidence showing you that this conflict isn't going to grow.
The thing called the palisadas, I don't know if those are tracked into the ground because they're on the main road. So I'm assuming those are those steel poles that when you go up to a parking lot, they can raise and lower. But if you look at this, it's got the barbed wire, then a trench, which they've been digging these for 2 years. This is like, I think some people are ashamed or not ashamed that they're scared to say, I think this is going to happen. I'm sure that this war is going to happen. And I hope I eat my foot. I hope that people will be able to say, you said a war was going to happen. I know it in my heart that this is going to go down. Somebody is pushing this. This is being pushed from many, many layers of the very top people. I don't know if it's because there's going to be less people on Earth afterwards. I don't know if it's because they're trying to speed up the process of restructuring the people in power. If they're trying to bring in a whole new system, I don't know. But you can't build up a new system without tearing down the old one. Something massive is happening right now. You don't just do this and spend billions of dollars along your entire border unless there's some sort of info that goes with it or orders that go with it. This isn't just to scare us. Like this, they're actually preparing all of their civilians. It's going to happen just like World War II. People thought the same thing in World War II. They said, we're not going to get involved. It's now the U.S. that has no business over there. We're not going to get involved in it. The majority of you watching are in the U.S. It really seems so far off from us. But Europeans don't think like this. They've been through war. London, if you go to it, we just talked about this with what was their president's residence? It's called 1219 or 1019. What is it? 1212 or something like that. Whatever the president's residency right next door, which you said you've been to, right, is Churchill's bunker. That is
number 10 Downing Street.
Number 10 Downing Street. When all this stuff was going down, and things have been declassified since, they just came out with a movie called like The Ungentlemanly Warfare, which I'm sure was exaggerated, but it shows like when Germans were bombing London. London was being bombed. Churchill was down in his bunker. Like places like London, which you visit now and saw all this beautiful architecture, it's like those places were being air bombed, and there were air raid sirens and all of this. All over Europe, you had troops and destroyed buildings and artillery shells and huge blast, just huge. Gosh, I can't think of the dang word. Crevices where buildings used to be. And yes, our grandparents might have fought in these wars, but everyone over in Europe were in these wars, whether you were fighting in it or whether you were living in it. They got to look up and see these things going over. That has never happened to an American. So we're very distanced from this because we were always geographically safe. It was very far away from all of our adversaries. We had a huge distance. And logistically, it was way harder for somebody else to invade us, for somebody to do this. Well, that things have changed, especially with politics and culture. If you look at how many people are coming through the Darien Gap right now, and now they're building tank columns, you have had people funneling in for 3 or 4 years, almost like it's been the plan the whole time. All of this is happening. I don't think the next war and if there's ever an invasion, I don't think it's going to look like the way you think it is, like D-Day on, Normandy beaches. It's not going to look like that. It's going to be from the other side out. They're going to be in the pillboxes looking out, and people are going to be coming from behind. With Poland, they are actually, all of these other countries, look at what they're doing. Look at the very specific thing they're doing. They're closing their borders. They're saying nobody from this country come in. All of these countries are doing this. Meanwhile, we're like, come on in. Come in by the thousands. Oh, 10,000 military-aged men, 18 to 23, no families, no nothing. Come on in. In fact, we'll give you a private flight. It's weird. It's freaking weird. If you look at what they're doing, they're preparing for World War III. It's very, very clear to see. I think it is going to happen. It's not. I don't think it will be a couple weeks, but I think in the next couple weeks we'll probably see a huge sign of it. And then in the next month, in the next 2 months, in the next 3 months, it's all heading down the pipeline. That doesn't mean the end of the world, though. Especially for preppers. If you're prepped, you can get through anything. Almost everything is survivable. And then Dex, Denver police say drones will respond to 911 calls instead of cops after city defunded the force by millions. What?
Come on. Is this not a dystopian future? I mean, so the Denver Police Department has launched a new program that will have drones respond to emergency calls instead of cops. The law enforcement agency that was recently defunded is now saying that that's what's going to happen. The department is planning on using a large grant from the foundation to start the program. They plan to buy several drones with the money and begin their drone program within 6 to 12 months. So I'm just going to assume they're going to go after, I'd like to think that it's just like, oh, well, there's a party here. Can you check on it? There's a noise issue here. And not like, let's go to the house and like start, expecting them to open the door and allow a drone in to inspect everything. That's where it's going though, folks. Let's get it straight. If they can send a drone to your house, even a small drone, and say, we have a check that we need to perform, open your doors, and if you don't, then they'll send out a squad, and you open your doors and you let them in, and they come through and they inspect everything, and then they take their pictures and leave. I mean, come on, this is getting crazy. This is super, super creepy when we think about how much, this technology is advancing with, and especially now going to our policing. All for back to blue, but at the same time, when it comes to this new tech, it's getting a little it's crossing the edge here. So again, I think they're basically at first are going to say, oh, well, we'll use it for a noise ordinance, or there's a big party somewhere and they want to check on it, or they hear something that's outside and then go check it on. But I think this is just the first step. It's going to go to that next level, and it's going to get a little more creepier by the day, and you're not going to like it.
Babylon says drones heading to, you have 30 seconds to comply. You have 30 seconds to comply. This is the Denver Police Department. Put your hands up in the air. Next, they'll have weapons on it. This is straight out of, and it's kind of crazy too, because in the movie Songbird, they showed that drones would be responding to a bunch of stuff. And it was set in like 2025, 26. It's already happening. Dex, remember I told you about this years ago. I said that this was my theory, that Watch Dogs, London, that all of this years ago, I said that's going to be the future, because FAA was clearing the space for this. That was at the time when I was covering, even when you first came on with me, there was the stuff going on with all of the law enforcement agencies trying to hook up with all of the private security doorbell cams and stuff. And they were clearing the space. And I just got into amateur droning myself, and I was doing videos with my drones, which are now going to turn into bricks because they're DJI. But as far as that goes, I knew this was going to happen, and everybody else did too. You could see they were clearing the space. And people thought this was just for delivery. Everything has a military and a law enforcement application first, then it goes to civilians. Almost every technology we have, including the internet, including Facebook, everything has had a military application or a CIA application or some application before it's been in our hands. Cell phones, for gosh sakes. Guarantee you, we're going to absolutely find out that, all of it was pre-planned. In 60 years, they'll say, actually, the cell phone was, they wanted to make it cheaper and cheaper so civilians would all carry around tracking devices. Oh, and we were going to put chips in their credit cards, and we were going to make sure that they take away cash machines, take away pay phones so we could track every call. If you make a call on a payphone, how hard is it to track a random person going up to it, calling a number and going, hey, meet me there? But you can track a cell phone. They know exactly where they get the calls from. When it comes down to it, almost every change we've had in the last years isn't to evolve. It's to track and trace and monitor more efficiently. The Banking for All Act, all of these things, they're all meant to make sure they are squeezing us for every bit of use that they want. It's very, very crazy. But the drones responding, having a drone come up at your door, say, we need you to step outside. We need to do a welfare check. Like, that's insane. Imagine like streamer raids now. Instead of cops like barging in, it's going to be like a robot dog coming in and like swinging around its arm with a 40 cal on its back going, oh, what is going on in here? Please put your hands up. This is not sci-fi. This is the absolutely super near future. In Denver, you're going to have drones responding before police. And isn't it funny? This is after the whole defund thing happened. And the defund thing happened because of this one event that started this huge cultural thing that changed the world, the entire world, over this one incident. And people don't think that if one person in the wrong scenario or in the wrong case scenario, something happens, they don't think that something massive could happen from it. Look at what happened with the entire George thing. That was one person, maybe 4 people, 5 people, 6 people with the people videotaping involved. That many people changed how the world worked. That many people caused widespread protests, widespread everything. I know firsthand. We had a police station taken over and shut down. They took over. It was called Chaz, Autonomous Zone. They camped out in Capitol Hill. They took over a neighborhood. If you were a business in that neighborhood, well, too bad, because you're going to have to shut down until we're done. I mean, it's really crazy to see that this little of, and it was a big deal. The principle of it was huge. But my point is look in the future. What can happen? A Pearl Harbor 2.0 could be smaller than you think, too. It could be just the right event at the right time and the right coverage from the media and the right agenda, the right pushing of it, the right social media coverage, the right messaging around it. These people are masters at PR and how they can spin something. It's what they do for a living. Heck, they knew this stuff back before we had computers. Germany had one of the biggest, kind of propaganda networks that they were extremely good at their propaganda. Some say some of the best. How do you convince people of certain things? It's pretty insane. And then Japanese fighters tracked a Chinese supersonic drone spying on its bases. Again, more signs that, of course, things are picking up. And it looks a whole lot like one of ours, but it's not. Again, they tracked one of these drones monitoring Japanese bases. So China and Japan really are not getting along. Japan intercepted the Chinese supersonic WL-10, WZ-10 drone over the East China Sea for the first time on Monday. The drone, which appears to mainly serve as a reconnaissance and electronic warfare platform with some strike capabilities, was flying near Japanese air defenses and a key base hosting U.S. air power. Japan's Joint Staff Office, which oversees ground, maritime, and air self-defense forces, released a statement on Monday confirming the interception of a Chinese WL-10 or Wing Long. Did they really name it? Wing Long 10 drone. China also appeared to designate the drone WZ-10. Wing Zong? I don't know. This story, and it said the office said that this was the first time that the aircraft was spotted in an airspace violation. Japanese fighter jets responded to the drone, monitoring its flight. Now, supersonic, they don't use that very often with the drones, but are most of these drones supersonic, or is this a much faster drone than normal? Are Predators supersonic? I don't really hear that.
No, aren't those usually they have props on them, so they're not. And this is probably jet based, so therefore it's has the ability to break the sound barrier.
Yeah, they're getting more and more high tech stuff every day. They're ahead of us in autonomous in 37 out of 44 key areas in autonomous AI tech. I mean, and AI and advanced tech. It's like, what is going on here? How did this happen? Before we move on, make sure to go check out Energy. Again, if you haven't gotten yourself a generator at all, I'd highly recommend, of course, go look into gas generators. But the one problem with gas generators, and the reason and the gap that the Energy Flex Tacticals and the Flex Energy Flex 1500s fill, is because if we have an SHTF event, gas stations are going to be null and void. If we lose all power, then we lose all water and we lose all gas. A solar generator, on the other hand, you can hook this up to solar panels, which are very easy. It's like plugging in Christmas lights. If you want more, then you daisy chain them into the generator, put them out during a day, and boom, you've got power generating. Say you don't need it for that day, well, you can have the power generate, and then the cool thing about these is it then holds the power and it's ready for you when you need it. You can even charge it on a good sunny day. Then when your power goes out at night, boom, you have it automatically switch over to your generator. This is really cool because it's modular. Just like Legos, you can actually add in bricks that you can even expand it up to 96 batteries. You can even add in mods like the UPS mod, or uninterrupted power supply mod, which doubles. It's a 2-in-1 that also rapid charges it as little as 40 minutes from the wall per battery. So this thing is absolutely tough and rugged. It has 1,500-pound latch system. Very, very simple and quick. Just click, click, boom. You're off to the races with a battery and a head unit, or you can hook it up to 96 batteries and an entire wall. You can also get all sorts of other accessories and low-powered appliances and things like that that actually plug in. There's all sorts of great stuff that they're making, like stovetops and water boilers and things that almost take virtually no wattage. So it maximizes the power that it puts out, or the longevity of it. The only downside about this is the wait. It could take anywhere from 3 to 7 months. So get ready for the wait. Get your name on the list. It is most definitely worth it. The U.S. Army just chose this as for their STTR Phase 2 contract. That's because of its build quality and how tough it is, and its reliability. They want something because it works and it turns on every single time. They don't care if it takes selfies or if it has Wi-Fi capability or any of that. This is made for one purpose and purpose only, is to bring you power. So go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Again, a lot of their competitors, if you look at the ones that you can get on Monday, I will ask you, just go look at the company, then go look at who they are front for. Almost all of the ones that are very, very comparable are literally fronts for a country that we might be at war with very soon. So I'd be very careful, and I would almost say get a gas generator over something else or a competitor. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Again, I'm not down playing the necessity. It would be awesome. Your best setup is to have both solar and gas. But gas is finite. And if you don't have barrels sitting around in your apartment, this is probably a really, really good choice. Again, go check it out. It helps us, and you get a giant discount as well. And then North Korea launches balloons carrying leaflets and possibly trash into South Korea. So it's kind of freaky because we just watched Leave the World Behind and saw the leaflets drop of, in that movie. Essentially, those leaflets were saying like, hey, this is your new ruler, right? But these leaflets apparently had some trash mixed in as well. Dex.
Yeah, so they have now reported over 90 balloons. They sent out an emergency alert to some 20 counties in the region, saying suspicious objects presumed to be North Korean leaflets and or potentially even trash are in the frontline areas. The public is advised to refrain from outdoor activities and to report any unidentified objects to the military or police. So again, that went out to 20 different counties in pretty much along um, the demarcation between the two territories there. So we don't know what's really on them. They're just speculating that there's leaflets. They had, I think, at one time had warned that um, Pygon had threatened to send mounds of filth over the border in retaliation for the leafleting that I guess or the anti-leafleting that's been going on. And I think there's been leafleting going on both ways on this. So, but maybe this is it. Maybe they're literally sending dirty diapers and leaflets. I don't know.
So this is very spooky. And so, do we have the time frame? Is this still going on? Are they still spotting these balloons?
This is breaking in the sense that I think it's in the last hour or two that these headlines have started to fly out.
Yeah. So this gives me a creepy feeling. What do you guys think about this? And given the whole last year about the whole balloons stuff, obviously everybody debated. We debated. What was that whole scenario? North Korea launching balloons. The leaflet part is the creepy part, especially since Venezuela. I've been saying this over the last week. Venezuela is lined up on the border with Guyana. You've got China surrounding Taiwan right now. You have Russia just over the last 2 months. Not only did they launch potentially nukes into space or some sort of strange satellite killer into space, but North Korea actually tried launching something. You've got, and it blew up, but they did launch something before that. And then you have the threat of a surprise event happening from North Korea. Now they're launching 90-something balloons over the border, dropping leaflets. What do those leaflets say? Is this the warning right before something happens? Like, I don't know. What do the leaflets say? I want to get our hands on a picture of one of these leaflets. I don't so much need a picture of the dirty diapers or whatever the heck else they're dropping. But is it more of a principle? Is this more like an FU to South Korea? And then a USMC F-35 crashes off an airfield near Albuquerque Airport. A military aircraft again crashed off the airfield at the Albuquerque International Sunport, the primary international airport in New Mexico. The only person on board, the pilot, was conscious and taken to the hospital with serious injuries. So very lucky if this gentleman lives. 2 civilians were evaluated at the scene, and neither person was transported. So pretty crazy. If you look at that crash site, looks like nothing bigger than a bread box almost. Maybe that does happen. And then some scientists seriously believe we could live forever by the 2030s. Here's what you need to know about longevity escape velocity theory. So Dex, you understood this a whole lot better than I did. But we've all been thinking this our entire lives. Like, by the time we get old, maybe there will be something that we'll be able to live forever, I guess nobody really wants to die. But apparently by the 2030s, by the time they take most of us off the planet, or at least maybe just the rich ones, then everybody will be able to live forever. Is this like the plot out of Elysium or what?
It's certainly one of those I wouldn't say crazy theories. It's probably one of those theories that's eventually going to catch up. What they're suggesting is that the state of our advancements with technology and medicine and rejuvenation and or repairing of cells, stuff like that, is rapidly advancing. And Harvard geneticist George Church has entertained the idea that maybe we will actually see that in the not too distant future. In other words, the time it takes for us to get to a state where we can start curing things, reproducing or making our cells repair themselves, stop aging, or live through aging and fix things, that all of that is going to come about. And I guess they're suggesting that maybe 2030 is that sort of time frame, if as far as when it could happen. LEV, as they refer to it, the longevity escape velocity, is that theory that basically says that advancing in science and the science of aging and stopping it and reversing it or fixing everything so that you can, in theory, just live forever. Now, that's a crazy thought, because what's going to happen now? On one hand, a lot of people say, look at the population, it's on the decline, and who knows, maybe 2030, if that's the point, well, if everybody by 2030 stops aging out, then what happens? And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with people living for an unlimited amount of time? Or even, let's just say it's not that. Let's say it's just an extra 100 years and people start living to be 200 years old. How are we going to, what's going to happen to everybody that's retired thinking they're not going to work anymore, but now they have to somehow, sustain themselves for another 200 years? That's going to be a challenge. And it's going to be a challenge when you think about a lot of things, because our entire, we're all, our society is based on a life cycle. And that will be a major shift. And I think it also creates a whole lot of other problems that I'm not even thinking right now.
Only the rich.
Yeah.
Only the rich are going to
And then who's allowed to? Yeah.
Magic Johnson lived while my dad died. And the difference is Magic Johnson could afford the drugs for what he had, and my dad could not. My dad withered away. Well, Magic Johnson lived. And the difference was millions of dollars back then. So with this, I bet it's only going to be the rich and the elites. And what's so funny is they don't say it in here, but look at the stock photo they used. And it's kind of funny because it's like what I said. It's like they show a guy in a suit riding a rocket into the sky, right? Who are they talking about? It's the people like Elon that are going to be able to survive all of this and the craziness that is going to happen. If there is a longevity escape velocity theory and this all comes true and everybody can live, which futurist, what's his name, Ray Kurzweil, suggested an even earlier debut for LEV, perhaps by 2028 or 2029. This is in the next 4 or 5 years, at latest 6 or 7, right? If this is any truth to it all. Do you think that they're going to give it to everybody? Are they going to give it to Kurt in his trailer in Mississippi? No. No offense, Kurt, in your trailer in Mississippi. But do you think they're going to help us out? They're not. And I bet you when you have the richest people in the world, the people that are in charge of a lot of this, that even when they step down from their board, they're still in charge, that are investing in all of this fake meat, fake whatever, buying farmland, all of this. The same people that go on TED Talks and say, if we do a really good job, we could bring down our pop by, 10% with really, really good V's and C's and all of this. Those same people are going to live that long. We will not. These are going to, if there's, drugs that have us live forever, these are going to be million or billion-dollar drugs. Not to mention what Elon is working on with Neuralink. He says in the future, you'll be able to download your brain like a video game. And this sounds so crazy, so sci-fi to all of us. And now people are subtly like, it's crazy because 10 years ago, people were like, yeah, okay, whatever, loopy. But now it is now just subtly being put into us every day. Now people just kind of accept it. Oh, we have Neuralink. This is insanity. It's so crazy we can say that a guy who has no use of his arms or legs is using his brain to control StarCraft. He's playing computer games with his brain without doing anything. They're inside of his brains, and his brain is sending signals through electricity, and he is moving a mouse on a screen. Look at where we're at. People call that evolution, but I call it dependency. We are depending completely on technology. We're completely on these drugs, on these things. Well, guess what? These drugs and this technology, it's only going to be for the rich. And if it does get for the cheap, then they're going to get rid of the people that can afford it. Because they can't have this many people and have everyone successful, everyone be rich, everyone have a good, happy life. It would be great if it was like that, but it's not going to be. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments or in the chat. Do you think we're going to get access to this stuff? I doubt it. Whack 1855, thank you for the super thanks on the last show. It's like a super chat, but on previous shows. Thank you. I appreciate that. Whack 1855 on the coming backlash FA. Mr. Isaac the Hermit RA, they say there's nothing to see here. Thank you for the super thanks. Appreciate you. It says, "What's up, my fooglets?" And Trav Ansel replies, "What'd you call me?" That's pretty funny. Trav Ansel, that's awesome. And then Waken Believer, thank you. Lord McCormick, again, thank you. Looks like Poland being set up again as the chessboard for war in Europe, and they know it this time. Yeah, that was actually, I think, one of the think tanks said that too, that not only Poland, but Lithuania, Estonia, that basically they're the stepping stones, right? And NATO knows that. Swetnam Ministries. Dex, you already got that? I'm assuming that's what we added from...
I'll check, but
okay.
I'm not sure.
And then K. Parker Frazier. Hello, Adam, Dex, J, mods, and family. Much love. K. Parker Frazier, thank you, and thank you. I appreciate that. And let's see here. I just wanted to make sure this was today because Swetnam, you sent another one like this. Second early warning radar was taken down. So I know you talked to us about that the other day. So you're saying that it had so much damage that it was actually taken down? That's crazy. You're talking about the Russian early warning radar. If that is true.
Yeah, the Voronezh M, I just found it. Voronezh M is the second one that was targeted on Sunday, apparently. It doesn't sound like, I don't know how much damage was done, but they did target it with a drone. So again, that, we talked last night about the damage that can come from this type of activity towards the U.S. From Russia, because this is their early warning system. It's their defense against the U.S. from nuclear strike. And if UKR keeps targeting them, that's just, maybe it's their way of just dragging us in, or maybe it's our way of saying, yeah, we'll let them do it in our proxy conflict. Go ahead and take those places out. But yeah, that's the current report.
And if you followed this week in prior shows, we were covering that multiple European nations were saying the question, talking about whether somebody was pushing for all of the European nations to give permission to Ukraine to use their weapons deep inside of Russia. Now, what has changed is that multiple countries are now voicing support for this. So using a UK Storm Shadow missile to hit Moscow or to hit the Kremlin. I mean, not exact that, but targets inside of Russia, and not having any restrictions on Ukraine and saying, yeah, go do it. Doing a full offensive. Take out the Kremlin if you want to. That would, especially if it's UK or NATO equipment and NATO soldiers controlling it, that is NATO versus Russia. Directly, no proxy. That's a NATO soldier pushing the button, launching a missile. Doesn't matter what ground he's on, whether he's on a Ukrainian piece of land or Ukrainian boat or a U.S. coastline, wherever a NATO soldier fires that from, that's a NATO soldier firing that missile, which now we know. There are NATO specialists, there's French specialists, there's Estonian French specialists, there's U.S. specialists over there actually pushing the button on these machines. Before, it was, we'll shoot inside of Ukraine and attack the tanks that are coming up towards us, right? Or something along those lines. Or if they're in Russia but they're heading towards there, they would be attacking that. They're straight up hitting early warning radars that are responsible for protecting Russia against incoming nukes. The whole mutually assured destruction thing only works if both sides not only have nuclear missiles but also have early warning detection. take out one side. I wouldn't be surprised if our early warning radar gets hit with something somehow. And then Boeing's Starliner crewed ISS mission will still launch despite helium leak. It sounds like they're just... this is going to be like the ultimate disaster. Watch. This thing's going to blow up or something. And that's going to be the last nail in the coffin. It just seems like they're setting themselves up for... They're trashing Boeing. I think they're going for like the stock going down to zero so the rich can buy it. And then the U.S. government will be like, oh, by the way, we're going to give you a $18 trillion contract. And then everybody who bought the stock will be sitting in Hawaii. I don't know. Just something weird about this. Dex, go ahead.
I mean, their excuse is, look, we've seen NASA has flown some vehicles with small helium leaks before, including a couple cases from Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket. So it should be okay. Yeah. So they're not worried about the helium leak. Apparently they fixed something, but it's still got a small leak, and they're just going to say, hey, we'll go ahead and launch.
Okay. Have they never heard of duct tape? Like, it's not that hard. Just, I mean, my grandpa knew this. It's pretty simple. Duct tape. And these are the smart people? Okay. Pope apologizes after being quoted using vulgar term about gay man in talk about a ban on gay priests. Dex, you know the Catholic Church better than I do. You grew up Catholic. I don't know why. How did this fit into the whole, like, why were people mad in the first place? And then how did his apology go over?
Yeah, the holiness of holies here is having to make an apology round for apparently using the F word as it relates to people of that particular likeness, and as they're describing here. And he did that in a private meeting with an Italian bishop, or an unnamed Italian bishop. So then it leaked out. So then now he's having to run around and apologize for it, saying he never intended to offend, etc. I think the crazy part of this is that it's one of those things of all the people, whether you like him or not. I mean, plenty of people don't like the guy, and that's fine. It's not about that. It's just the role and position of someone in this position having to go on an apology tour for making a statement like that. You would just think that you would never, in that role, you would ever put yourself in a position where you'd have to do that. It just doesn't seem right. But anyway, I'll stop it there. It's just sort of like one of those headlines you just can't imagine that would ever happen. But that's what he did, and that's what he's admitted, and that's what he's now apologizing for.
And apparently he said it jokingly and said exactly what's on. For those of you that are vision impaired, it's FAGGOTNESS. I'm not going to say it myself to be clipped or something, but yeah. I've never actually heard that word. I've never heard it used like that, actually, ever. I don't think ever. That's what do you call that when you add something to the end of the word? It's used. I don't even think that's a word, but I've actually never heard that. And then Elon, I've heard the word, but not with Ness at the end of it. And then Elon Musk reportedly building gigafactory of compute for AI. So this is another one. Billionaire mogul Elon Musk's XAI has plans to build a supercomputer in partnership with Oracle to power the next version of its Grok artificial intelligence large language model. According to the report for the information, citing a presentation shown to XAA stakeholders, the project has been framed as a gigafactory of compute for training and developing the next generation of the company's Grok AI system. The Cointelegraph reported in April Musk previously sought to raise $4 billion at a valuation of $15 billion for the company, with a follow-on commentary indicating that his funds would be used to raise its GPU count from around 10,000 to 100,000. Shortly thereafter, it was reported that Musk raised the goal to raise $6 billion at a valuation of $18 billion due to a high investor interest. And by the way, Grok, he is saying that this is going to be more of a true AI, that this is not going to be based on feelings, and it's actually going to try to list facts rather than feelings, right? Some of the statements of it, he's basically saying that this is not going to kowtow to different cultural beliefs. It's going to try to stick to the facts, right? So I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are interested in something like that. I would hope that there would be more and more of that. But Dex, what is the difference between 10,000 and 100,000 GPU count? I don't understand that as somebody not a computer expert, but how big of a jump would that be? Tenfold, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say tenfold. It's 10 times more. But yeah, I mean, it's look, it's significant. Here's the thing. I guess the way to think of it would be to try to compare it to how large, say, OpenAI is using it. I don't know the answer to that. So, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they're talking about a significant number here. So when, they're talking about these sizes, nobody's going to come out and build the fourth largest AI computing cluster when they're building a new one. They're going to build the next biggest one. And then one after that will be even bigger, and the one after that will be even bigger. The point is, these GPUs, graphics processing units, by the way, folks, those are like the graphics cards that go on our computers. It turns out those aren't just good for playing games and making pretty pictures on your screen, and they're not just good for mining Bitcoin and everything else that they were using them for. Now they are so sought after for the AI capabilities, and that's what is used in these large AI systems, is massive amounts of these GPU processors to do all of the processing. So, partnering up with the company that they're working with, who I think also had a huge investment, or at least an agreement or something, with NVIDIA back before others did. They were one of the first ones to jump in. So they grabbed a whole lot of the processing power, or at least claimed a stake to it before anyone else could. So they've probably sitting on a shelf full of these GPUs to the tune of 100,000 or more. They can turn all this on, and it sounds like that's what's going to happen. And the more processing power you have, the stronger, better, faster, quicker, smarter, however you want to think of it, your AI system can be. So if someone only had 50,000, it would not be nearly as good as somebody with 100,000. But the next guy's going to come out with 1 million. So this number will change.
The scariest part about this is comments by Elon, and a lot of people still, either people hate Elon, and most of the people that hate Elon just hate him because of what media says about him, because the media attacks him. And then some people are totally for him. There are certain things that I'm like, well, that is awesome that he's doing this and he's doing that and doing this. But this next comment, according to Musk, the world's richest person, such a system would be capable of supplanting all human employment, leaving us to question our purpose. As he put it, if the computer and robots can do everything better than you, does your life have meaning? Musk did concede that perhaps our role in the future will be to, quote, give AI meaning, for us to be, to make sure that AI knows what to do. So what? Like, we would literally have AI go, hey, AI, we're going to build you up to the point where AI, ask AI. This is making AI into a god. How do we save the planet? AI will go beep. It's like Doctor Who, like print out a receipt. It says, stop polluting. It's like, is this going to be the president of the United States in the future? Are we going to have AI presidents? This is a crazy road to go down, because if you think about it, they're already talking about if AI gets super intelligent, if it has. We already talked about this last year when an AI supposedly asked and wanted rights. At least this was the claim. One of the Oogs people from the Oogles said that the thing was asking, it wanted all the same rights that all of the other employees got. And I think, didn't they shut that one down, Dex? Or was they fired the guy that claimed it? I know they fired the guy, I think.
Yeah, he was out when he was claiming it.
Yeah, so it's like, if that does come, you're going to have to think about in the future, are they going to give them civil rights? AI, artificial intelligence, and then are they going to be able to run for office? Are you going to have an AI robot? This is like Futurama or something. Like, this is insane. I can't believe we're here right now. I can't believe we're saying these things. This is out in the open, in the public, in what is considered the truth, right? Like, what? I'm terrified of our future. There's people that are excited for it. I get that. But I see down the road a little bit further, and I'm like, how are we going to work? Like you said, we might just work to make sure the AI is running well. AI is going to be and that comment by Eric Schmidt, former Google executive, he said in the future that you're going to have China and the U.S. will most likely have their supercomputers in a military establishment that are protected by machine guns and SAM sites. That these something straight out of Terminator. Skynet. This is terrifying. And it's going to, by the time people realize it's too late, it's already too late. They wanted to put a 6-month pause on it. All of a sudden, within a year, we're going to realize like how fast this is going. And everybody's going to be like, whoa, we should have stopped this a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We're going to be meeting we're going to be watching a headline, meeting the first super intelligent computer that is supposedly a person. Like, this is the headlines I see in the future, in near future. I think people should be more afraid of this, and they're not going to until it's too late. But Dex, Elon is the same guy that said he's more afraid of that than this. I guess his solution is to be the builder of it.
Well, and the solution is Neuralink. If we're going to compete with the machine, then we have to be one with the machine. So he's, quickly tapping into the brain so that we can start to unlock the rest of the power that's inside our brain, which is probably greater than 100,000 of these, processors, GPU processors. So, yeah,
movie Atlas.
I don't necessarily agree, but it's definitely one of the reasons why he says to do it.
If you haven't seen the movie Atlas, it's actually I thought J-Lo did a great job. It was pretty funny, actually. But there's a movie Atlas that everybody suggested and commented, so I ended up watching it. Atlas shows J-Lo in a future where the AI has turned on us. It's very freaky. Everything from toasters to home bots to house cleaning bots turned on us and did a genocide against humans. And it's because one leader AI robot broke its programming and all the protocols and led them all to take out humans, right? In the future, to combat this, they connect directly with AI through a link. And I think they literally called it Neuralink. Yeah, they called it Neuralink in the movie. So that's kind of freaky if you think about it. Is that Elon's goal, is to connect us directly with the robot so we are one? It's a crazy thought. And then before we touch on Russia and claims that NATO is planning a nuclear strike in Russia, I want to remind you, if it all does go down, if an SHTF event happens, all the pharmacies are going to be shuttered. If a major hack happens, like it did a couple months ago when we picked up Jace as an affiliate, people ask us, how do we get, what happens if we can't go to the pharmacy? I can't get my stuff. For a week, people were out during a massive hack. 30,000 pharmacies were down. So we ended up picking up Jace. This is a company that I used during CV. It's one I've used before to get backup antibiotics. This is a very simple and easy to use system. You talk to a board certified doctor in a telehealth appointment, and you can get yourself either a Jace case, which has life-saving antibiotics for emergencies. Again, a tiny cut on your finger could turn into a life-threatening thing, depending on if you have the right medicines. As far as you can go that route and get a Jace case, that you will get a discount on through our code. But you can also add things like albuterol and breathers and things like this. So go check it out. Learn more over at marfooglenews.com/Jace. But I think one of the best things is if you have a regular medication, say a regular medication you have to take every day, that you are worried about if things go south, you only get a month in advance through your doctor. You can actually get up to a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds, and then always rotate that in with your current supply. And again, it's more of like a subscription, so they're always sending you that, so you can always have a year extended supply of your prescription meds. That's called Jace Daily. Highly recommend it. Go over to marfooglenews.com/Jace. And then Russia claims NATO is planning nuclear strikes inside of Russia. So either way you look at this, whether Russia's lying or whether Russia's telling the truth, or Russia's possibly planning on doing this to itself, this is a very, very freaky headline. An FSB intelligence chief has accused NATO countries of preparing to conduct nuclear strikes on Russian territory as tensions between the Kremlin and the alliance continue to grow. Would this not, if a nuke went off in Moscow or somewhere near it, even if it was a tactical nuke, would they then not have the absolute reason to go, we're going into the Baltic states, you guys, that's the last straw, it's full on, we're declaring war against NATO? If somebody is up there, and if you are of the belief that there is somebody pushing for this war, either for money or for power reasons, then this is a bad sign no matter how you look at it. If they're telling the truth, if they're lying, then what are they setting up? It's a very scary thought. Dex, thoughts?
It's yet another. I mean, look, both sides are pointing the finger. Both sides are saying the other side's going to strike. At some point, something's going to happen. Whether it be nuclear or whether it be kinetic of a lesser degree, it's going to happen. You got Poland putting up, the barriers. You've got the Baltic states all scrambling right now, even saying they're not worried about NATO. They're going to send their own troops in if they feel like, Russia's making advancements in UKR. They're all painting and beating the drums of war. And it's, I think we have to at least understand and heed that, and not just keep our head in the sand and think that it's not coming. It's coming. And it's not just there. It's everywhere. It's what's going down with Taiwan and China. It's what's going down with North Korea and South Korea. It's what's happening in the Philippines. It's what's happening in South America. And it's even to some extent what's happening or going to probably escalate to a new level at some point in Africa. We'll see it everywhere. We have it in the Middle East too. So yeah.
Yeah, as far as China, at the same time, this is actually, I believe this might even be the older one. Very well, it looks almost identical to the current drill that's going on right now. So yeah, this is not, we're not in a great time right now. But you can pray and have faith that things are going to get better. You can also prep. You can try to get yourself as lined up as you can. You can talk to your family about a basic plan. You can even start things like NPPs or neighborhood protection plans, and talk to neighbors that have similar train of thoughts. You can do all these things now, but you can't really do them after the fact. If nothing happens, then the next earthquake, the next fire, the next power outage, you'll be more prepared. For regional or smaller events, there'll be nothing. You'll be enjoying life. If the worst case scenario happens, you're going to be better off than 99.9% of the people. And that's what a lot of people think about as the problem that might happen, is that all of the unprepared people are going to come after the people that are prepared. Now, There's also an amendment for that, so you guys know what to do. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And thank you, Meat Puppet 007. Have you noticed the lack of campaigning on both sides? Not being done by both parties in the USA? Do you think the reason is that they want no November day to happen in November? Shout out to the mods. I have noticed there's no negative ads. Maybe I'm wondering, like, when are they going to start? Usually they start way earlier. We're already in May. They start like the 1st January. They start doing ads. But something tells me they might not need them, and maybe the other side says it won't help. I don't know. But we'll see. D-Live, Priscilla R, Shugs, Poco Loco, Comet Moon, Vicky K, and, of course, Kimbria. Thank you so much for your support over on D-Live. Thank you, everybody that has watched tonight's show. Thank you for everybody that has supported by sharing our stuff out and getting us out to somebody else they know. If you have a friend you talk about this stuff with, definitely share our show. Have them pop in the chat and hang out with us. Especially if you talk to somebody at work and it's somebody you talk to every day about this kind of stuff and they're into it too. That's the kind of person to invite. Not somebody who's going to fight tooth and nail out the door and hold on to the door frame. I guess, I don't know. I think it's almost too late for that, but you can continue trying. Try showing them everything you can and try to give them the best quality proof that you can. If you give them the crazy stuff or the stuff that gets debunked a day later, they'll never listen to you again. Dex, thank you again. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody that joined us tonight. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.